Hey, everybody, welcome back to Odd and Untold. This is episode 25. And this week I'm going to do another short episode, just another solo episode. First of all, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good long holiday weekend with their families, safe travels. I know I filled up on lots of turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and all that good stuff. So I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. And a little bit of sad news tonight as we start. I'm recording this on Sunday, and we just found out that Linda Godfrey, the author who sort of brought us the Beast of Bray Road, she wrote the book about it back in the day, The Dog Man of Wisconsin. She wrote a lot of other books about cryptids and Bigfoot and portals and things like that. But she's really the one who broke the story of the Bray Road beasts, and she died today of Parkinson's. According to Lauren Coleman, I saw on his page, and many other people have been posting it. Lyle Blackburn and lots of other people in the cryptozoological community have confirmed this. So very sad. Never met her, but from all accounts, she was a very sweet woman. And I would have loved to have had the chance to interview her, but I do understand she's been sick for a while, and very sad to lose her. So condolences to her family. Very sad day. Kind of bummed about that, but wanted to move on here. You might see I'm wearing a t-shirt. This is my Odd and Untold t-shirt. Not sure about selling merch yet, but I got a good deal on some of it. I got some stickers. So if anybody wants some stickers, comment below or email me. I'll put the email address at the end of the video as well in the podcast, but it's jason@oddanduntold.com. I'll send them out for free. I got like a bunch of them for $1. So, but they're really high quality, good stickers. So if you want a sticker, let me know. I'll send them out. I'm saving a few for gifts for people. So there's that. I wanted to give a few shout outs to some people. This podcast is really giving me a chance to make some friends and get to know people that I normally would not have met or had the opportunity to meet. So I wanted to give a shout out to Mike Stetton. Had a nice conversation with him a couple weeks ago about Bigfoot. He's upstate New York, basically in the lower Adirondack region, and he's a researcher up there and has a lot of, collected a lot of reports. He's in touch with a lot of other researchers. And so I appreciate Mike for his time. And we've been, since the phone call, sort of messaging back and forth. And he's trying to hook me up with some of the people he knows, maybe have some guests on the show to tell their stories. So Mike, I do appreciate it. You're a good guy and really enjoyed our conversation. We have to do it again sometime when the holidays kind of settle down, because we're kind of getting into that busy season now. Daniel and Alina, met you guys virtually over the phone because of the podcast with Olivia and Paula and Rachel. So it's been really cool talking to you guys. We've had some lengthy phone calls and talked all things paranormal, and you guys are awesome. And I owe you some pictures, I think, of some stuff that we were talking about. So I do have to get on my old hard drive and send those out to you. I haven't forgotten, so just bear with me. And yeah, I think that's about it for now. So this week, I'm wearing my Bigfoot hat. I'm just going to tell another personal story, something really weird that happened to me and subsequently my wife a few years back. And I had talked about this. I wrote a blog post for Haunt John's, Courtney Marock's site. She was on the show a few episodes back. And again, I'll put a link to her site and my article there in the comments below, in the description below. But basically, it was something that happened to me in upstate New York a few years back, probably like 2015 or so. And very, very weird. And I wanted to tell it here. I liked having it exclusive to Courtney's site, but definitely wanted to kind of talk about it instead of write about it. But it was exclusive to Courtney's site. So to Courtney, thank you for featuring me on your site. Now I'm going to talk about the story and just kind of give a little bit more context. So this was a few years ago. This was in a place very near a town called Howls, New York. I'm not going to give the exact location. I don't want people going to this place and bothering the owner. But we were staying at a little cabin up there years ago, my wife was, still is, a wedding photographer, and one of her friends was getting married up there. I guess a little bit further north near Kingston, and we were staying in this place near High Falls, and High Falls is a little. I wanted to bring this up. It's a little bit north of Poughkeepsie and on the other side of the Hudson. So it's on the west side of the Hudson, north of Poughkeepsie. But I know this week there's been an article going around about someone had seen Bigfoot near Poughkeepsie. So make of that what you will. But there's a lot of sightings up there. You know, it's not just the Adirondacks; it's also the Hudson River Valley, Kingston, Kinderhook, places like that. And you know, we were in High Falls. So anyway, to get back to my original story, we were staying. I believe it was in August in High Falls. And my wife, as I said, was a wedding photographer, and she wasn't shooting her friend's wedding, but she was shooting, I think, the portion of the bride getting ready. Um, so she went early, and I stayed behind at the cabin. And behind the cabin was a stream, and I think it's called Roundout Creek. And there was this ridge sort of behind the cabin. So she had gone out, she took the car, she was going to go do all the prep work before the actual reception and wedding and everything, just to photograph the bride getting ready. And I wanted to call my son. So I took my cell phone and I went for a little walk behind the cabin. I was following the creek back to this ridge and was talking to my son for a while and wrapping up the phone call. And I heard these two knocks, you know, tree knocks, which sounded like, you know, wood knocking together. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not really a big believer in the tree knock thing. It's one of those things where people talk about it constantly, but no one's ever really seen a Bigfoot banging wood against a tree. There's not many reports of that I am aware of, and I'm just very skeptical of it. I'm not saying it's not true. I just have my issues with it as a skeptic, or a more skeptical person. But I hear these two knocks, and it's weird. There's nobody else out there. It's just this ridge, and there's nothing up there, you know. And thought I saw something dark, but it's hard to tell. It's kind of getting late in the day, and in the woods, a lot of things can look weird. You know, the wind can move some bushes, and it could look like something moving between two trees. Thought I saw something, but it was one of those things I really didn't give much credence to it. I heard these two knocks, and I said, okay, you know, that's kind of cool. You know, I got some tree knocks, you know, whatever, and didn't really think much of it. And, you know, we went to the wedding, had a great time. Nothing else happened. We liked the place a lot. And we were talking to the owner the next morning, and through mutual business dealings, she had offered us to come back for free. And my wife was going to give her some photographs for her website. So she said, pick a weekend, you guys can come out and spend a weekend here, you know, 2 nights. And so we're like, great, we'll come back. Nice little vacation spot, beautiful towns around it, you know, little towns. There's the railway, the bridge over the Hudson at one point, lots of little parks and trails. So it was really nice up there. So we booked a weekend that October, so a couple months later. And so we went back, and I think we stayed, because it was a free weekend. I think we did like a Sunday night and maybe Monday night. So I definitely know this happened on the Sunday night. So it was a little cabin. There was no TV in the room. There's no food around. You know, it's a cabin in the woods essentially. So we wanted to go into town. My wife was a Patriots fan, and she wanted to watch the Sunday night football game. So we said, oh, let's find a place in town and go watch the game and get some dinner, and you know, it'll be a good night, and then we'll come back and relax at the cabin. So we did just that. We found a place in town that was showing the game and was serving dinner. And I specifically remember the game. I believe they were playing the Indianapolis Colts. And Scott Perry, who's been on the show before, maybe you can chime in on this, but it was the Colts had made this play. They were trying to do some weird trick, like flea flicker play, and it totally fell flat. Like, it was embarrassing how bad the play was. And I remember we were just, cheering in the restaurant, and we're in New York, so nobody really understood why we were cheering for the New England. But it was just this horrible play that like most of the team, I guess, wasn't on board for, so they didn't know what was going on, and they just kind of dropped the ball. Like it was just this weird play, and I think it kind of became famous. Anyway, so we have our dinner. We're driving back, and we say, let's stop off and get some snacks. We always like to have some late night snacks and some chocolate or salty snacks or a drink just to keep in the room. We always got bottles of water because you wake up in the middle of the night and you get thirsty. So we stop off at a little convenience store, probably a no-name place. We get some snacks. We go back to the room, and we're just laying there in bed and not dressed. I mean, I had my pants off and probably just in a t-shirt, my underwear, and she was probably in the same state of undress. We were just kind of chilling out, comfortable. And there was a screen door. The bedroom was on the second floor, and there was a screen door to like a little tiny porch that overlooked the stream. And we had the door open, so it was just the screen door, and it was just a really nice night. We could, hear the creek, the stream kind of going out there with the water, and just listening to the nightlife. And again, there was no TV in the room, just this little tiny lamp, so just a little bit of lamplight. We're just eating our snacks and talking, and we hear this ungodly sound. And again, we're kind of skeptics or skeptical. Not that we don't believe, but we're not really the type to jump to conclusions. And we heard this sound that we could best describe as gorillas grunting aggressively, and it was loud. And you hear reports of people talking about like maybe infrasound or just the bass being so low you can feel it in your chest, and that's what we heard. It was just this low guttural, and it went up in pitch to almost like monkey chatter, just really low and guttural, very deep, and then it went like this monkey chirping sort of sound and screeching, like it sounded like a monkey house, and it was echoing down, across this ridge. And it sounded like at least two or three of them. I mean, it sounded like multiples, and I don't know if that was just the echo effect, but we hear this, and it's so loud, and it's so just out of nowhere. I mean, it was a quiet night. This is Sunday night, probably around midnight, 12:15, in the middle of nowhere. There's not clubs and stuff nearby. I mean, we were far from town, and it's just this yell, this guttural yell going into this like monkey chatter. It almost sounded like being at the monkey house in the zoo when all the monkeys start kind of screeching. And we just both look at each other, and we're like jumping up, and we're fumbling for our phones, and just trying to make our way to the porch to record this. And again, by the time we got our phones open and got to the point where we could record video to capture the audio, I mean, it was too dark out to really see anything. It had kind of stopped, and we both just looked at each other. And my wife grew up in central Massachusetts. I mean, she had this mountain behind her, and there were bears and coyotes and all sorts of animals and wildlife. And we both looked at each other, and she was like, that was not a coyote. That was not anything that we would know. I mean, just the high pitched stuff, I would say could have been a coyote, but it started off as this guttural. I mean, it sounded like King Kong was out there. It was just this really deep, bassy, guttural sound, and just hit us in the chest. And it was just one of those things where it kind of froze us for a minute, and then we realized what was happening. We're grabbing our phones and trying to go record this, and it was just gone. But we could hear it echoing, and again, it sounded like multiple. It sounded like two or three creatures all yelling at the same time, if you can imagine that. And that was what we heard. And we were a little disconcerted for the night. We closed the windows. We didn't really want to hear anything else at that point. My wife is even more of a skeptic than I am. She's a little bit more practical than I am when it comes to paranormal stuff. And even she was just scared. And I remember we like went on our phones for a little while, and we're trying to find animal sounds of New York State. You know, is this a bobcat? Is this a fox? Is this a fisher? Is this a moose, or a deer in heat, or like anything that we could think of to say like it had to be a big animal or something that could project. And it didn't make sense. It wasn't an owl. It wasn't, and that was an owl is what the owner had mentioned the next morning, because we had talked to her and said, we heard this thing last night. Do you have coyotes or wolves or anything out here? And she's like, no, I never hear anything. Said sometimes you hear owls, and I've heard owls. I've heard some really creepy owls, but this sounded again like a big gorilla going up into like a monkey screech. But just the bassiness of it. And we were trying to think if somebody had an amplifier or like a megaphone, a bullhorn, anything to sort of amplify. But we were like, we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't know why anybody would be up on this ridge and yelling. Uh, so it was very, very strange. And I had mentioned this briefly on the episode where I spoke with Courtney Maroc from Haunt Johns. And I had told her that because of my story on her site, somebody had contacted me, someone I didn't know. This woman emails me on Facebook and says, "Hey, are you the Jason Stroming from this Haunt Johns article?" And she linked to the article. I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And she had said that a couple of years back, she and her mother were driving through the same general area and heard the same sound. They were driving and they had to pull the car over and kind of turn the engine off and roll the windows down because they heard this guttural sound that then kind of went into monkey chatter. And she just said, she saw the article, and she said she never told anybody. Her and her mother just experienced this, and we're like, okay, that's weird. We're not going to tell anybody. It's a weird thing to experience while you're just driving home at night. But she said it was probably around the same time. She said it was late at night. She said maybe 11:30, not quite midnight yet, but still dark and late at night. And they heard this, and they pulled over because they wanted to get a better, sense of what they were hearing. And it was really nice talking to her and getting that sort of validation. She didn't want anything. She didn't want to be interviewed for the blog. She didn't, want her name used. She just wanted to write to me and say, it made her feel better to read my story, because she was like, my mother and I thought we were going crazy. We were like, there's no animals out here that should sound like that. It sounded like a gorilla. It sounded like a big ape, and not like any of the known animals out there. So I thought that was very cool, and it was nice of her to reach out to me and kind of validated our experience. And again, because my wife was with me and she heard it, and again, she'd be the first one to be like, "That's nothing. That's just a moose or coyotes or whatever." She would have explained it, but even she was kind of freaked out. And to this day, we don't know what it is. And I'm not saying it's Bigfoot. It sounded like what you'd expect a Bigfoot to sound like. And again, there's a lot of sightings up there. It's not wilderness. It's not the Adirondacks. There's, a higher population density in these areas. Like I said, around Kingston and Poughkeepsie and Rhinebeck. But we heard this, and it was just the one yell that kind of went up, and then it just kind of echoed out. And it was just one of the creepiest things I've ever experienced. So I wanted to share that story. Like I said, I have written about it. I was very briefly on The Unexplained with William Shatner talking about it. I did like a 2-hour interview. Didn't get to meet Captain Kirk, unfortunately. Love Bill Shatner. Would have loved to have met him. But he wasn't there. It was just me and some warehouse in Brooklyn, and they were filming, and they had beautiful like craft services table with food and drinks, and they interviewed me for about 2 hours, and I think I was on screen for all of like 12 seconds. My son timed it one time, and it was like embarrassingly short. Little clip of me telling my story, but it was a cool story for me to experience. Just again, I'm not saying it was Bigfoot. I don't know if it was Bigfoot. I didn't see anything. It sounded like what you would expect a Bigfoot to sound like. And again, we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. Nobody would have known I was there or that I was interested in this to hoax me. It sounded not like amplification. I've been to enough concerts. I'm a musician. I've played live shows. I know what amplified sounds sound like versus natural sounds. This was natural. It did not sound like it was an amplified sound. It was very loud. It was kind of hitting me in the chest at first when it was the guttural, low, bassy sound. So very creepy encounter. We never went back, not because we didn't want to, just never really got around to it. I would have loved to have gone back, but never got back there. I may go back again at some point, but very weird encounter. So just wanted to share that. Again, you can read all about it on Courtney's site. I have it linked there. If you see The Unexplained with William Shatner on Netflix, it's on there now. I believe it's season 1, episode 3. And I'm in kind of the beginning, the first 10 minutes or so. There's just a quick clip of me. Like I said, it's 12 seconds or 15 seconds. It's very short, but a very cool experience to sort of tell them. And now I can tell everybody I was on a TV show with William Shatner. Not a bad gig. So that's my story. And I will link down below in the description as well to the Poughkeepsie sighting that happened recently. I've been wanting to talk about that, but with the holiday and everything going on, it's been tough. Just been very busy. And I did want to just talk about that before we end the show tonight. Just a little public service announcement. It's the holidays and a very happy time of year for a lot of people, for most people. You have Thanksgiving, you have Hanukkah, you have Christmas, you have Kwanzaa, you have New Year's. It's just the lights and the gift giving and the merry time of year and the songs. And I just wanted to remind everybody this is also a really tough time of year for a lot of people. And I've made no secret of the fact that I've had a rough 4 months or so here, really rough. And I'm lucky to have a great support system of family, of friends, who've been there for me, who've been checking in on me. Simple things, but I have people to talk to. I have friends and family who are close to me and they've really helped me get through this. But I just wanted to remind everybody, just check in on your friends. If you know someone's having a rough time, check in on them. Even if they seem fine, because I'm fine usually doesn't mean I'm fine. It means I don't want to bother you. I don't want to pester you with my depression or my issues. So just checking in on someone, just sending them a text. Hey, how you doing? Do you want to talk sometime? Do you want to go for a drink? Send them a funny meme. Check in on them because you just never know what people are going through. And just because this is a happy time of year for most of us doesn't mean it's a happy time of year for everybody. And this goes for me too. I'm trying to check in on friends, even though I've gotten my butt kicked this year, honestly. And I'm still, trying to check in on friends when I can. And it's tough, but you got to remember to do it because this can be a very hard, lonely time of year for people. So who are going through things or have lost people in the past, it could bring up memories. I mean, even if it's not recent, this time of year could be tough for people. And just because someone seems okay or says they're fine doesn't mean they are. So check in on them. If you know they're going through something or they've been through something, send them a funny meme, send them a funny video, just brighten their day a little bit and just make sure they're not too lonely on the holidays. I'm okay. I'm just, I don't want anybody to worry about me. I'm just, it was something that occurred to me earlier today, that I really need to check in on people more as well, because it's very easy to kind of worry about yourself and just, I got to go shopping. I got to buy presents. I got to do this. I got to decorate. And we forget that so-and-so friend or so-and-so family member might be having a rough time. So little public service announcement for that. Just wanted to say that because again, I've had a rough time and I'm just so appreciative and so thankful around Thanksgiving for my family, my friends, just everybody who's checked in on me and brightened my life up these past couple of months. And you have, so you all know who you are. Thank you. I'm going to wrap it up there for today, everybody. Short episode this week, just with the holiday and everything. It's been tough. Again, if you want a sticker, if you have a story to share, jason@oddanduntold.com. I'll put a link, the email address above. I'll put the link in the description below. Until next week, everybody, rock and roll. Happy holidays. There's my Ronnie James Dio horns. Rock and roll.
Moonlight glowing, it fades on me and you, casting dancing take it all away. The darkness of the night, it fades in the ghosts surround you everywhere. Wait until you meet them there. In my dreams I see